A pregnant mother of 4, desperate for escape, walks into her father's quiet Queensland home and leaves with $5,000 cash. Money meant for their family's future, siphoned from a secret safe to feed an online pokies addiction. The authorities would soon learn her name, Tiffany Bailey, the woman behind the headline, "Pregnant Woman Steals $27,000 from Dad to Gamble." What could drive someone in the most vulnerable moment of her life to betray her own blood for the thrill of a digital spin? This was more than theft. It signaled the implosion of trust, family, and even shelter. But the most haunting question? How far would her spiral go before anyone dared to intervene? Tiffany's phone was always within reach. In the quiet hours after the kids fell asleep, she'd scroll through endless screens, chasing tiny bursts of excitement that felt like relief. Online pokies didn't judge, didn't ask questions, didn't care if she was exhausted or queasy or worrying about the next ultrasound. The rules were simple: tap, spin, win, or lose. For a while, it felt like she was in control. That's the trap. It starts with a little extra money, a tax return, the kind of windfall that's supposed to make life easier. Instead, it vanished in a blur of digital reels and near misses. The further along she got, the more the world seemed to shrink. Hormones ran wild, moods swinging from hope to panic in a single afternoon. The only thing that made sense was the promise of a quick win, something to break the monotony, to drown out the noise in her head. Pokies offered instant reward. No waiting, no one to answer to, just the hypnotic cycle of risk and reward. Every loss stung, but every near win kept her coming back. That's how these games are built. They're not just entertainment, they're engineered to keep you hooked, feeding off the same brain chemicals that light up with a hug or a newborn smile. Most nights, Tiffany told herself it was harmless. She was pregnant, stuck at home, cut off from the world by circumstance and her own choices. She wasn't sneaking out to pubs or clubs, wasn't drinking or using. She was just playing a game on her phone, filling the gaps between worry and hope. But the gaps kept growing. What started as a distraction became a necessity, a private escape from the stress of bills, the ache of her own disappointment, and the fear that she might not be enough for another child. The more she played, the more she needed to play. And the more she lost, the more desperate she became to win it all back, to prove to herself that she still had control over something. Even as the bank balance shrank and the guilt grew, the lure of that next spin was always stronger than the regret that followed. Cash went missing in fits and starts. 100 here, 1,000 there, never enough to trigger alarms at first. But by August, the numbers didn't add up. The safe in the kitchen cupboard, meant to hold $27,000, had grown lighter. Only 3 people knew the code: her father, his wife, and Tiffany herself. Every time he counted, the total felt off. He'd built his business from nothing, every dollar earned with his own hands, and now the money was evaporating. Trust is a fragile thing. For years, he'd left the safe untouched, certain that family meant security. But suspicion crept in, slow and sour. He started checking the safe twice a day, locking doors, replaying conversations in his mind. Was it forgetfulness? A simple mistake? Or something that couldn't be taken back? Tiffany's visits had changed. She'd show up at odd hours, always with a reason, dropping off the kids, picking up a parcel, asking about a bill. Each time, she lingered near the kitchen, her eyes darting, her movements just a little too careful. He wanted to believe her, to trust his own daughter, but the evidence kept piling up. By early August, the anxiety was impossible to ignore. He installed a small camera inside the house, its lens angled toward the cupboard where the safe sat. There was no announcement, no confrontation, just quiet resolve. If something was happening, he needed proof. The camera blinked to life, recording every movement, every code punched in, every moment the safe door swung open. He barely slept, replaying the footage in his mind even before he'd seen it. The thought of betrayal weighed heavier than any missing cash. What do you do when your own blood becomes a suspect? For a parent, it's a question that never has a good answer. The footage was there now, waiting. All that remained was to press play. The footage didn't lie. There she was, Tiffany, her own daughter, standing in front of the kitchen cupboard, safe like she'd done it 100 times before. She moved quickly, glancing over her shoulder, then punched in the code with steady hands. The door swung open. She reached in, pulled out a thick stack of notes, and stuffed them into her bag. No hesitation, no second thoughts. Just a practiced routine, as if this was part of her day. For her father, watching that recording was like being punched in the chest. All the doubts, the late-night worries, the hope that this was just some mistake, gone in a few seconds of grainy video. The safe was supposed to be untouchable. Only 3 people knew the code: him, his wife, and Tiffany. He'd trusted her with everything. Now, every frame of that footage felt like a confession, a line crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. He replayed the video again and again, looking for any sign that this wasn't real. Maybe she was returning money. Maybe it was some misunderstanding. But the cash never came back. The numbers in his head matched what he saw on screen. It was all there, clear as daylight. The daughter he'd raised, who used to run around the workshop as a kid, now caught stealing from the family that had always backed her. When he confronted her, the words stuck in his throat. There's no easy way to ask your own child why she's stealing from you. The betrayal stung deeper than any missing dollars. The camera had done its job, left no room for excuses, no space for denial. Trust, once broken, doesn't grow back overnight. That night, the house felt colder, the silence heavier. The truth was out, and there was no taking it back. March 2024 brought Tiffany to the police station in Hervey Bay. She did not wait for a warrant or a knock on the door. Instead, she walked in on her own, belly showing beneath an old hoodie, and gave a voluntary interview. The story she told was raw. She had started gambling after a tax return, thinking it was just a bit of fun. By mid-year, the fun had curdled into something else entirely. She described nights spent awake, chasing losses, convinced the next spin would fix everything she had broken. She said she had tried to stop, even self-excluded from the apps, but it never stuck for long. By then, the fallout was everywhere. Tiffany was pregnant, out of money, and out of places to stay. She had lost her home and ended up living in a tent, the kind you buy at a hardware store, pitched wherever she could find a patch of quiet. Some nights, the wind rattled the canvas so hard it felt like the whole thing might blow away, baby and all. She told the court she had hit rock bottom. No home, no savings, no way to make things right except to own up. Her partner stood by her, showing up in court, holding her hand while she waited for the verdict. April came, and so did sentencing. Magistrate Trinity McGarvey listened as Tiffany pleaded guilty. The facts were simple. $5,000 stolen, a family left to pick up the pieces. But the court heard more than numbers. They heard about the tent, about the baby on the way, about the kind of shame that makes you want to disappear. The magistrate handed down 3 months imprisonment, wholly suspended for 4 months. No jail, but every day of freedom hung on a thread. One mistake, and she would serve the time. She was ordered to pay her father back, dollar for dollar. No one cheered. Her father sat in silence, the wound still fresh. Tiffany left the courtroom with her partner beside her, a suspended sentence in her pocket, and a promise to try again. For now, rock bottom meant a second chance. But no one pretended it would be easy. In April 2024, Tiffany Ann Bailey, a 32-year-old pregnant mother of 4, stood in a Hervey Bay courtroom and admitted stealing $5,000 from her father's safe, captured on CCTV and confirmed in her own texted confession. The court heard she'd lost her home, lived in a tent, and self-excluded from online gambling sites after her arrest. Magistrate Trinity McGarvey imposed a 3-month suspended sentence and ordered $5,000 restitution. The record shows $27,000 went missing between June and August 2023, but only $5,000 was admitted and sentenced, leaving questions about the remaining funds. This case documents the harsh reality of gambling harm in Australia, where online pokies and family trust can collide with devastating results. The court file remains closed on the full financial loss, but the impact on family and community is a matter of public record.